Good evening, everybody. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner, and these are my final thoughts on Erin Cox. And I'm making this video because of a comment I received and a personal message that I received concerning my analysis, my in-depth analysis of the situation involving Erin Cox. Now I'm going to read what Classic Listener 01 had to say. This was the comment I received. Ready? Seeking Out Fakes wrote this and asked me to post it as you'd blocked him and you're a coward who starts trouble. Okay, I blocked Seeking Out Fakes for a good reason. I'm not going to discuss it here on YouTube, but I had a good reason for blocking him. Okay? I am neither a coward nor do I start trouble. Matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. This person is starting a lot of trouble. And now I'm going to put an end to it. Alright. So Seeking Out Fakes wanted to tell me that I am the punchline of people's jokes. I find that to be rude, crude, and inappropriate. No one should be the butt of another person's joke. No matter how good or bad they are. That's ridiculous. Alright. The guy who didn't go to prom. Now here's the thing. Yes, it's true. I did not go to prom. It had nothing to do with any of this. And what does any of this have to do with my in-depth analysis of Erin Cox? Absolutely nothing. These aren't even arguments. They're just shallow insults that I'm quickly going to brush right off. Make sure not to wear the glasses with the tape holding them together. I have never once owned a pair of glasses where I had to put duct tape, masking tape, or any other type of tape on my glasses to hold them together. That has never happened. Okay? Despises the guys who dated in high school and hated their girlfriends. I neither despised those guys, nor did I despise their girlfriends. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I congratulated them for finding true love. That's tough to do. However, some of those people didn't plan very well for their futures. I had a grandfather years ago who told me about a day of the haves and the have-nots, and he told me not to get into any debt. I took his advice. I don't have a car loan, a house loan, and everything you see in here I own. Straight out. As a matter of fact, I do have a credit card, and I only owe $30 on it. That's a fact. And a lot, I try to keep saying a lot, that's not really true. Some of the people that got married just right out of high school, they envy me to this day because they got into a lot of debt and they struggle to this day in low-paying jobs trying to get themselves out. And when they find out that I only owe $30 worth of debt on a credit card and that's it, they really envy me. So there's your answer there. Pretends to be Mr. Spock when you're really Steve Urkel. Okay, first of all, this would be an insult to J.E.L. White. And if I didn't pronounce your name correctly, I'm sorry. But the guy who played Steve Urkel should be personally insulted by this. Because when it comes to the character of Steve Urkel, he was not stupid. He didn't plan things very well. He wasn't the best dressed person at all. I'll give you that. But this Steve Urkel was a pretty intelligent human being. Come on. Now, as for the Mr. Spock reference, am I totally logical and unemotional? Hardly so. So to compare me with Mr. Spock? Please. Can't we do better than that? And then he goes on to make a bold claim, which is totally untrue, that somehow I despise all females. Most of my friends are females. This is just highly inappropriate. And then he goes on to say that I despise heterosexual relationships. Really? I've been in heterosexual relationships, so this is totally out of line. And he claims that I'm tormented by all this. I am certainly not tormented by any of this. And then Classic Listener 01 goes on to agree with the viewpoint of seeking out fakes. Well, when I read all this, I made a quick decision. Classic Listener 01 apparently seems to be a puppet to seeking out fakes. So because of that, I blocked Classic Listener 01. I won't listen to another thing he has to say. And now you can see why. Okay, so what about the personal message that I received? Well, this was from an anonymous YouTuber. The person really wanted to remain anonymous, so that was okay. But what this anonymous person said was that they agreed with all my viewpoints except for one thing. I have set up this YouTube channel to be your instructor. So that means that probably there are things that I know that Erin Cox probably did not know, which caused her to make the decisions that she made. And I felt that was kind of fair. Obviously, Erin Cox probably did not know about Erin Pennywell. And there's a good chance that she did not know the laws in Massachusetts concerning underage drinkers. Well, if that being the case, then really she is truly innocent, and so therefore should not be punished. However, we don't want this mistake to ever happen again. Now, in a previous video, I discussed the underage drinking laws in Illinois. Now, I'm going to post a link down below that will tell you all about the underage drinking laws in Massachusetts, so that you'll know this from now on. Now, I also said in a previous video, I actually asked a couple of questions, and they still hold true now. The first question was, when was the first time Erin Cox's friend consumed alcohol? Was it at this party, or was it at some point before that? It makes a big difference as to how we view Erin Cox and her friend. Another question was, did Erin Cox and her friend know that alcohol was going to be served at that party? Makes a big difference on how we view Erin Cox and her friend. Now then, I also found it very ironic, okay, that the organization Students Against Driving Drunk, which was formed in 1981, was formed in the state of Massachusetts. That's right, it was formed in Wayland, Massachusetts. I wonder if Erin Cox has ever visited the Wayland, Massachusetts chapter of Students Against Drunk Driving, or Driving Drunk, whatever you want to. I wonder if she has. Again, that would affect how we view Erin Cox. Now then, the first question that comes up is this. Well, since that organization has been around for 30 years, do kids today, underage kids, consume alcohol and then try to drive home drunk? Well, we can answer that question real quick with Tyler Lovell. He climbed in his car intoxicated on November 5th, 2011, and he had his own collision. And if you want to know what happened to him and his friends, I have a second link down below that will tell you exactly what happened to them all. And you need to know this, because like I said, how you view Erin Cox's situation will change because you know this. And I hope Erin Cox is watching this video and she takes the time and reads that article, because it will probably change her mind on whether she should go rescue her friend again or not. Okay. Now, what about Erin Pennywell? Well, there's going to be a third link down below. And this third link will tell you the story of Erin Pennywell. This is very important to know. And I'll illustrate this in a little bit. Now then, even though the police found Erin Cox innocent of any crimes. They said that she had not done a single thing wrong. Why did the school system pursue this anyway and punish Erin Cox for what she did? Well, it's because of the reputation of the school. The reputation of the school was on the line here. You say, well, how does that come about? Okay. If people think that what Erin Cox did was correct, then others will start emulating what Erin Cox did. And that could be a big problem. And now I'll illustrate. We're going to illustrate this first by saying that on April 26, 1991, there was a whole bunch of people that found a highway underpass, crawled up underneath it, and rode out a tornado in Kansas. They all survived. Well, that's all fine and dandy and everything, but other people started emulating what those people in Kansas did. And that was rather tragic. As you will find out, if you will look up May 3rd, 1999 in Oklahoma City, you will see the tragic consequences of emulating what happened in Kansas back in 1991. That's the problem with emulating things like that. Now you say, well, what would be the problem of emulating what Erin Cox did? Okay. I drew you an illustration. Here we have Erin Cox. We have her friend that is called for a ride home because she is intoxicated and she does not want to drive home. I can't blame her. Now these are the 12 people that were arrested that night for underage drinking. All 12 people had the potential of becoming a Tyler Lovell. These were a type of Tyler Lovell. Now here Erin Cox comes. Any one of these people could have climbed in their car and started heading home. She could have collided with any of those people. Do you see a problem with that? If Erin Cox had collided with any of those people, who was going to rescue her friend? Now let's say Erin Cox had been successful and had managed to pick up her friend and started driving home. Let's say one of these people started driving home too, and she still ended up wrecking. Now who's going to save Erin Cox and her friend? Do you see why you should not emulate the actions of Erin Cox? You say, well, taxi cab drivers pick up people at bars all the time. Yes, and bartenders remove the keys of the potential drunk drivers too. And taxi cab drivers are trained to handle those kind of situations. So are police officers. Erin Cox has never been trained on how to deal with underage drinkers, how to deal with drunk drivers. You also have to keep in mind one other thing about Erin Cox. I'm sure she was very much distressed about the fact that her friend had just consumed a ton of alcohol and was now needing a ride home before the police showed up and arrested her. So of course Erin Cox is going to do everything she can to get to that party before the police do. She knows the police are going to show up eventually. She's just trying to get there before the police do, so she can keep her friend out of trouble. In essence, she's trying to cheat her friend out of justice. Do you see a problem with that? You see what I mean? The simple fact of the matter is that if more people start emulating what Erin Cox did, the more people who are going to be placed in imminent peril. And you're going to read stories about things like this. That's why the school system doesn't want people to emulate what Erin Cox did. And I don't either. I have good reason for this, and I have clearly demonstrated that to you tonight. Whew. I know that's a lot of information to swallow. But hopefully you viewers will use all this information, put it in your head, and make a good conscious decision not to do what Erin Cox did, because of the imminent peril that you can not only put yourself into, but if you successfully do rescue your friend, you could put your friend in that kind of danger too. What should Erin Cox have done? She should have told her parents about what was going on, at the very least. Now you say, well, what about the school administration? Do they tell them too? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. And that is a subject I'm going to address in a different video. Okay? And you can watch that video when I finally pop it up. You'll be able to see that. You'll be able to see why I say sometimes you can trust them, sometimes you can't. So that does factor into the situation. Talking to the police can also be a problem. It just depends. Most police officers would do the right thing. I believe that. But remember, there are some bad apples even in the police departments. Any cop will tell you that. That doesn't mean they're all bad apples, but it does mean that there are a few of them out there that are not exactly the nicest police officers you'll ever meet in your life. I'm sorry to say that's true, but it does happen. Anyway. But that's for a different subject on a different day. Hopefully, I really hope I've covered all the subjects. Definitely click the links below, read the articles, put all this in your head, start adding the extra jigsaw puzzles in your head, and don't do what Erin Cox did. And now you know why. You know, when I was a kid, I actually grew up around farmers. And a lot of the things they taught me was common sense. To me, this would have all been common sense. I would have never done what Erin Cox did. And now you know the reasons why I would never have done what Erin Cox did. It's too bad that Erin Cox did not grow up around farmers, because if she had, she might have made a different decision. You can't be that distressed about your friend and end up with a situation where you're already facing distracted driving, okay? Because that's what Erin Cox was facing. She was facing distracted driving because she was thinking about her friend instead of what was going on the road. And then you have potential drunk drivers on the road. That's not a good mix. It doesn't work that way. And now you know why. Alright. Well, until I make another video, this is Ted the Speed Learner signing off. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.